Good morning. When I was back in Plovdiv last summer, um, I got up one morning after partying with the hippies. I just wanted to, because the hostel was full of hippies, I just wanted to get out and get some room to think, because it's very hard to think with all the big energies, it's even very hard to sleep with all the big energies. So I just had to get out and clear my head. So I went out for a walk to the other side of town. And when I was over the other side of town, I went into the Billa and bought myself a sizable enough breakfast, like a good breakfast for myself, and sat down at the breakfast and all the rest. And then I was out walking again, and I started coming under pressure to go to the toilet. So I said, Jesus, I said to my soul, you'll surely let me get back to the hostel. And there was no reply. And I started to look around and I found I was lost. And I said to myself, well, I'll try and find a direction for the hostel. And I was started coming under more and more pressure. But as I was walking along there, I met some people and I said, can you show us the way to a hiker's hostel? Can you show us the way to a hiker's hostel? And they just go, and I just, because you just look past these people. You say to yourself, like, if you were supposed to find a way to the hostel, you'd even get someone pointing you in the general direction. But these were just giving me this. So I said to myself, I walked on another bit, started coming under more pressure, looking for a toilet, looking for to get back to the hostel mainly. And I was saying to the universe, I was saying to my soul, you surely let me get back to the hostel. You surely let me get back to the hostel. There was no reply, no reply. So I was going along then. And I was sort of saying to myself, trying to rack my brain and start to say to myself, why would you do this? Have I, what would I have done to warrant this consequence? I said, but there has been other times. If you read Epictetus is very specific about one thing. Our bowels is not up to us, so I'm sure he suffered the same training exercises as I did, but. You get the idea, So I was walking along there, and I kept saying, you surely get back to the higher. I can't believe you're going to do this, And then as I walked by this walled garden, there was a garden restaurant up top with all sorts of fancy people. The upper class were all sitting eating their breakfast on a sort of a veranda, on a sort of a patio that was raised up from the street level. It was a upmarket cafe, a really nice cafe. And as I walked past it, my soul goes to me, there's the toilet. And I says, I'm not going in there. And I wouldn't go in because I was in the bare feet. I was wearing the Russian uniform, the Adidas tracksuit and the t-shirt. And I had no shoes, so I didn't wear any shoes during the summer. I might, that might, yeah, well. This might be the first summer I wear shoes. We'll see what happens. It wasn't necessarily by choice, but anyway. So I was walking along the bare feet and the Russian uniform, and I just says, I'm not going in there, and walked straight past the toilet. And then I started touching cloth, and I said to my soul, if you want to do this to me, that's grand. If you want to do this to me, that's grand. And my soul goes to me, you're doing it to yourself. And I just completely ignored that, walked on with another 200 yards, started coming under more pressure, started contemplating the fact that I might have to go over to the river, and then I just said to myself, if you want to do that to me, that's grand. And my soul goes, you're doing it to yourself. And then I just said, yeah, I'm doing it to myself. I'm doing it to myself. That's pride. That's pride. It's only pride that I wouldn't go back and as I said, beg to use their toilet. I wouldn't go in and ask to use their toilet because I wouldn't go in amongst the upper class in my bare feet and the Russian uniform. And that's pride. And therefore, my soul was right. I was doing it to myself. So with this realization, I was able to go back and alleviate my I ran straight in. I didn't even ask to use the toilet. I just ran straight to the toilet. I barely made it, but that's one of these training exercises that I realised that there's so many instances that you're doing it to yourself. You're doing it to yourself. And maybe that's the first question people should ask themselves when they start to suffer mentally with all sorts. But this was pride. And this is why the universe constantly had to dip my head in the toilet until I could actually let go of the pride, let go of the pride, let go of the pride. And I think pride is the biggest, while, yeah, I was never a jealous man, but by Jesus had I pride. And I was saying the other day, like, the pride still hasn't gone, because as Aristotle said, be proud of your pride. And and that's why, like, I walk around in their bare feet, because, like, you know, like, it's your opinion, you know, what people be saying. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck about the people sitting eating bread? Who gives a fuck about any of them? Do you understand what I mean? But your pride was killing me. My pride was killing me. And I was just saying, thinking back, the reason I'm telling you this is because, like, I was just thinking back in my video the other day, and I was saying to you, you know, a man has to be able to stand upright and not be held upright by others, you know. Be independent, be independent. If you don't want to be under control of anybody else, be independent. Be independent, be self-sufficient, be self-sustainable. But the universe will often take these unshakable principles and shoot them right up your ass so that you don't know what's going on. So, you see, you know, I would have been, as Kant says, you know, we hear the doctrines that accommodate our inclinations. So I would have held on to that, like, you know, a man has to be able to stand upright and not be held upright by others. And I would very easily make that an unshakable principle. I would very make that an unshakable principle. Like, I would say, yeah, Marcus, yeah, that's the way to go. But the universe will continuously take my head, stay dipping it in the toilet if I hold on to that unshakable principle. So therefore, I have to find Aristotle's golden mean. And the golden mean is between, is as Aristotle said, it lies between two vices. It lies between two vices. So this would lie between a man has to be able to stand upright and not be held upright by others, and no man is an island. And you have to find the golden mean between them. And even that golden mean shouldn't be an unshakable principle, because, as I said before, life is like a chariot race. Race in the middle of the track and use both sides as necessary. You have to be able to stand back and evaluate people's character, and you have to be able to strategically move around these characters, but not in a confrontational manner. Well, we could talk about that again, but it's like the other night I was telling a story about the other night, but it's not like, you know, it doesn't have to be in a confrontational manner, but you chariot race, you know what I mean? You play to win, but if you want to play to win, it's best to race in the middle of the track, and that's in a lot of ways, but especially with pride. And you have to find the sweet spot between humility and arrogance. But you have to know when to be humble, and you have to know when to be arrogant too. But there's a sweet spot in the middle. When it comes to pride, especially, it's a good idea to ask yourself: are you doing it to yourself? Are you doing it to yourself? Because, like, the other day, like, I after I made this video, I was out of money, and I said to myself, you know, you put me in this situation again. I said, you put me in this situation again. I says, I says, you just stay shoving this up my arse. And I was all said to me, yeah, are you going to do it to yourself? And I said, no, I'm not going to do it to myself. So I had to ask somebody, you got a few quid? You know what I mean? I just had to say to the brother, have you got a few quid? You know what I mean? Because you have to, you know, you can have all sorts of notions about it, but at the same time, why should I suffer? All I had to say to him was, have you got a few quid? And in fairness to the brother, like, he's very good to me. Like, he always gives me a dig out. But isn't that what brothers are for? And he just says, yeah, no bother. I'm not too flush myself, but I'll send you a few quid, give you a dig out. And that's what he did. But you have to learn to swallow that pride, you know. Learn to swallow that pride if you want to play the best game. Yeah, good morning.